Well, welcome everybody. It's Wednesday, February 28th at 2:05 p.m. Pacific time. Welcome to the PST-SC chairs meeting. The main discussion today will be on science collaboration status and issues. Good to see people again after a little bit of a hiatus. Any latecomers, please don't forget to sign yourself in at the agenda live notes document, which we use for the meeting. So I'll start with a quick intro and welcome, then we'll move over into business. So this is, like I say, the first of these meetings for 2024. The plan is to have one of these every month during the last week of the month, to make sure that communication does happen in both quote directions between the PST and the science collaborations. So because these are useful, I think to all of them. So one thing a little different at these meetings, at least as we've currently arranged them, is that the meetings will begin with a brief project update. Anything that the PST wishes to communicate for that. Then there'll be the main discussion item, which will be usually presentations and discussion based on presentations. And then at the end of the meeting, the last sort of, at the moment, 10 minutes or so, is suggested for sort of discussion relevant to the next meeting, any open questions or unanswered questions, and that will be unrecorded to facilitate sort of people feeling free to ask what they might consider to otherwise be, stupid questions and all that. So that's the plan. One issue that came up today in discussion was the ongoing issue about the time slot, which is inconvenient for some science collaboration members. We'll discuss that near the end of today's meeting in the planning session. And you'll see at the link there, there's a poll to find a more inclusive time slot for the next one of these. So today's agenda is to start with a short project status update. Then 3 of the science collaboration co-chairs have kindly agreed to present on their status and needs, having been given a fairly free hand to decide which issues they wish to raise. And then, like I said, we'll go into planning. So that's what I have for the moment. If Steve has nothing to add to that, we can move on to quote business. Okay, cool, thanks. All right, so our first item is a short project status update. I understand Željko has agreed to give a quick update. Željko, would you like to share the screen, or are you okay?
I have one slide to show you. So we are entering very exciting period of next 12 months with many milestones, but 3 stand out. So in a little bit over 2 months.
You can share this. You can share your screen, Željko.
Yeah, I'm working on it.
As a slide. Okay, great, thanks.
So in a little bit over 2 months, we are shipping the LSST cam from SLAC to Chile. In a little bit over 4 months, we hope to get first on-sky images with ComCam. And ComCam will remain on the telescope for about 2 to 3 months. Around October timeframe, we are then beginning to the process of putting LSST cam on the telescope. And in about a year from now, we'll have system first light. So next 12 months will be very exciting. And we have this new graphic that will become public. This is heads up for you guys. In few weeks, once we issue the next monthly report to the agencies, then we'll start posting to LSST dates this improved version of the remaining schedule with slightly improved names of milestones that are easier to understand. And that will be updated every month, so you can track the progress. It's color-coded. In red, we have M1, M3, in green, M2. And you can see in blue ComCam in about mid-July, ComCam is supposed to start taking on-sky pictures, on-sky images. Right now, most of the activity is focused on M1, M3. It will be coated in about a month or so. and then integrate it with the cell. And hopefully we'll all rejoice in July when we will demonstrate that the telescope is completed. So that's my update for today.
Thank you very much. I see Steve's hand is raised.
Oh, I was just going to mention one thing, which is I think the footer on this slide is obsolete. It's a copy paste issue. And so this is not a schedule from May of 2023, in case people with sharp eyes were wondering. So this is a newly generated graphic.
Correct. Yeah, this is just PowerPoint background, but the image itself was just pasted in. Yeah. This is produced automatically from our official scheduling P6 tool. And this one is maybe a week old.
So is that the same as ls.st/dates then, or is that a separate?
It's the same source of information, but we improved the names of various milestones. Some of those milestones didn't make much sense unless you were a project member and knew it by heart. So agencies at the AMCR requested something more human readable and more user friendly.
Thanks. I see Meg's hand is up.
I just wanted to ask about, in that graphic, I wasn't sure if it had, is that just the construction schedule, or is there also sort of an, again, something on the Gantt chart that shows sort of the range for operations? Because often the confusion that I found is that grant agencies, and maybe this is more in the UK and not as much in where there's NSF feedback, they're very confused about when does it actually start. And
this is strictly construction, but Bob has beautiful diagrams that show things, for example, like data previews, data releases, when we would turn the scheduler on to start LSST. The short of it is we are still hopeful that LSST will start before the end of calendar year 25.
Okay, so we still need to explain that there's still this slosh of weeks that when they look at the schedule and they go, when I go, I'm going to add the buffer that operations is putting in, right? That extra, is it 6 weeks? That's still like, that will be slightly different from this schedule, or is Bob's beautiful plots also being included on the page that this very nice graphic will be added to?
I believe Bob's beautiful plots will not be automatically updated, but Bob is here, so he can correct me.
But we also have some words we added to ls.st/dates exactly to address that, Meg, so that you can take from the construction project milestones the information that you need for grants. So that will persist as well. But Bob is also trying to say something, I think.
I don't think I have much to add. I mean, we'll make that page consistent with what's there now, with regard to what Steve just said, when it goes public with this new information. I'll just say that we are carrying those dates that Jelko is just talking about into the operations timeline, which includes this contingency you were talking about, Meg, on the operations side, going from survey. Yes, that's very nice. Is that Phil that just popped that up, maybe?
I did. This is the beautiful plot that I mentioned.
And I think this is mostly consistent. I made this a little more than a week ago, and there might be a little bit of resyncing that I have to do. But I can plop this into the notes. Now, remember, the dates that Jelko is talking about are forecast dates. They don't even consider the construction project contingency, which is still in there as well. But my plot does include an assumption on that.
Yeah, one of the things that feedback I get is that people are like, even the text on dates is still confusing to people who are not necessarily as up to date in the Rubin sphere, like sometimes funding committees. So just, I don't know if there's I appreciate the wordings there. I think it's helpful, but because I don't know if this is going to be public somewhere on the Rubin website, but sometimes it still causes confusion because people sort of miss a little bit of text or don't quite understand what it exactly means. So I don't know if there's any way to fix that.
This plot that Jelko is showing right now is not public, but there's no reason it can't be. So we'll think about a way to do that.
Yeah, just to highlight, people are putting in now for the UK
Yep.
fund things that will fund them next year for possible operations. So I don't know if anyone in the UK raised that, but if there's something that can be made public soonish, or there will be an update, it's maybe worth mentioning that to the LSST UK folks, to mention that to people that are putting in for their astronomy grants this year. But like to say that that the stuff might be updated while their proposals in review.
Yeah, actually, Steve just put something in the chat. The RTN 011 includes the updated versions of these information, and that is public.
Thanks. We really appreciate that feedback, though. We're putting the information out there for a reason, and we're always interested in ways to improve that. So thank you.
Okay, well, thank you very much, Jelko and discussants. That was very helpful. I propose we move on to our main discussion item then, which is the science collaboration status. I had penciled in 3 presentations, from solar system, followed by strong lensing, followed by information statistics. That might be ambitious for 35 minutes. We'll see how we go. But the idea is that questions and answers will happen after each informal presentation. So we'll see if how this fits in. So Meg and Simon and Ashley have very kindly agreed to do this. Meg, are you ready to present on behalf of Solar System?
Sure.
Okay, well, in that case, the floor is yours for 8 to 10 minutes. Please share what you have.
I think screen is sharing, and let's see if it goes to full. Can you see that in full screen?
Yep.
I can see that.
And it's moving?
Yes, when you change the slides, they're changing here.
Great. So I just wanted to highlight a couple things that are going well first, because generally when you say what are issues, I think it's always good to highlight what's well. DP 0.3 has been really crucial for answering questions, thinking about alert brokers and in-kind contributions, as well as practicing with the data set. So again, I just want to say thank you on behalf of the Solar System Science Collaboration, because this has been really, I think, helpful and a learning experience for many of us, and including thinking about what things, how the data schema that is already implemented is working and maybe needs tweaks. So this has been really, really helpful, I would say. Thank you for, again, being accommodating to include DP 0.3. I want to highlight that asking questions on community has been really helpful, and that the CST team has been really good at highlighting and moving people, connecting people to the right people within project and operations. And that, again, the International In-Kind Contributions webpage is really a helpful one-stop resource of trying to understand what things we will be getting, and also being able to submit information as needed. So what are our needs? I just want to highlight is that this meeting is really important, or at least I think the chairs think it is, because we feel like it's really one of the ways we get to a dialogue. It helps understand that, gives us a better context about what's going on, so that we can sort of, even if we're not information we can't pass on, it allows us to be able to say, like, we've heard a presentation on this, right? We're not worried. And so I know in the last year, it's been very hit or miss whether these meetings happen. So I just really want to say that this is at least a need for us in Solar System Science Collaboration. We feel like the two-way dialogue has been really useful in the past, and we hope there's a way to continue to ensure these meetings continue, especially as things get busier. DP 0.3 has been really helpful, but the current set of sort of tutorials are very simple. Doing something like this that Leanne has sort of created for DP 0.2, which is in Boca, and being able to sort of dive through into data sets and have interactive plots and things like that. There's not much experience within Solar System Science Collaboration, so really having examples that do things like this, which is Leanne had pointed to as something that she made for DP 0.2. That would be really helpful, doing that for DP 0.3. And so I'm hoping the CST can take on some of that, because I don't think we internally as a community have that experience to make these ourselves. I just want to highlight the public SCOC meeting notes seem to be coming up a month or later. So right now, the latest posting is from the December notes. And so it's a little bit hard to figure out whether to go to an office hours or talk to our liaison because we're not necessarily sure what's going on or what they talked about. And so it adds a little bit more. We have to ask our liaison, like, what did you talk about in the meeting? When if we see the public notes and we're like, hey, is this something we should be concerned about? We can have better informed conversations with them. So I just want to highlight if there's a way the meeting notes can be posted sooner, or if the ones, I don't know if there are meetings in January, I think there were in February, if those can get posted because they seem to be coming a month or later. And so I don't know if that's something that can be improved upon, or if there's a way to quicken that turnaround, because we find them really helpful to optimize talking to our liaison. Community is great. It's also really hard to find things because it gets buried really quickly and you can't find important posts later. So there's many things I've tried to find, like, you know, posts about how do I request additional in-kind contributions. And I can't, like, have to really search to find those posts. So posts seem to be getting lost in the noise within community. It's great for I'm stuck, can you help me? But the announcements seem to be something that that either you're constantly paying attention to community or you miss it, or then you can't find it when you're going back. Not sure if there's some solutions to that, but it's been a struggle I've had. The other thing I just want to highlight is that if you try to find what the processing loop for social system processing is, it's not on any Rubin webpage. And so the Solar System Science Collaboration has been maintaining sort of this information. It's in a JIRA page, but been maintaining sort of like copies of these sort of screenshots from PowerPoint presentations to keep that information there. And I think my concern is that this information needs to start being available on the Rubin pages somewhere, because this is where we want to be directing people to Rubin web pages to get up to speed, especially as more of the community starts realizing they're writing proposals this year or next year to do Rubin science. I just want to talk about the website and the documentation. Everything's basically in two modes. It's either PDF tech note or it's a slide presentation, which there's benefits to both, but I worry that that's maybe not sustainable. PDFs are great if you've gotten over the initial learning curve, but if you try to give a graduate student or someone new to Rubin the DPD, I'm pretty sure most of my science collaboration has not read that in high detail. And there's not many graphics or infograms anywhere on the Rubin page for scientists. And so I think those are things that help people learn. And it's often not clear the last time these pages were updated. And community is great for a quick answer, but it's really difficult to use as an archive. And so I worry that we're using community as the archive, but if you don't know the right words to search, you don't know how to find the thing you're looking for. And so just an example, this is the data products page, right? And so there's a note of links and recordings to things, but like some of these things are now possibly out of date and it's not necessarily clear that that's, you know, most helpful. So I just want to highlight if that you compare to JWST, this JWST just did, right, the entire user support team just did this exercise, right? Bring an entire community to their fancy observing facility, brand new cutting edge observing facility, and they developed JDOC. As my cat knocks stuff over my house. If you hear clanging, it's my cat. He's fine. But JDocs, right, is the thing that they created to do that. And I'm wondering has the community science team thought about this and what are they implementing? And so I just want to highlight in JDocs, it's not PDFs. It is information put in bite-sized form, right, on wiki-like pages that are easily editable with then deep diving in. And so I'm just wondering given that JWST has done this, there will be comparisons and there's a big community and overlap, right, that has been sort of gotten used to using JWST documentation, right? And it includes sections with references to the SPIE or the, you know, pipeline paper and information about when it was last updated. And I think it's really important as we get closer to operations and writing grant proposals that thinking about whether that's going to be done for Rubin pages, because I think is a lot of times there's information there, but it's not clear when the last time it was updated, or there's really very little about solar system processing at all on the Rubin webpage. So I just want to highlight that these are things from looking at JWST and people's experience with JWST, that are there things that can be learned, and maybe the CST team is already doing this, but you know, how to present that information. And just basically to say, right, the time to put proposals in is now, right? And in November, that's when most people are putting proposals in. And so there's gonna be a large portion of the community that hasn't really been paying attention now paying attention. So just to highlight that, aren't we ready with documentation? Because I find most people don't look in the DPT. RTN 111 is great, but if you're new to Rubin, I find, or that you're know a little bit, they're not diving into RT11 111 because it's so much information overload, right? And so so how do we keep those really useful PDFs, but also provide the information in a way that's more digestible for somebody who's looking for something specific or doesn't necessarily have all the background to ingest all of that in one go. So these might be things that the CST is already looking at, but I just want to highlight that that's, I think, what our needs are in solar system science collaboration over the coming months.
Thank you, Meg. That's a lot of issues distilled into a short term. That's helpful. For those that don't know what solar system is doing, would you be able to say a couple of words quickly about what the main 2 or 3 main highlights of what the solar system activities have been on the science side?
Things have been a little bit quiet because we had the holidays. We just completed a sort of internal review of the data schema for the solar system data products because of DP 0.3 experience. So were there things that we realized from doing example queries and things like that we think are missing, or right now that we're like, oh, it would be really hard for us to calculate that, but would be needed to, now that we've been actually having ability to get hands dirty with DP 0.3. So that's been the thing that's been on the current list and thinking about cadence or incremental templates.
Thank you very much. Do we have time for a couple of quick questions, I think, before we give the next collaboration a chance to let us know what they're doing? So any comments or questions for Meg? Okay, I don't think I see anybody chomping at the bit, in which case I'll move on and give Strong Lensing a chance to present. Thanks again, Meg. Simon, I believe you're presenting on behalf of Strong Lensing?
Yes, yeah.
Awesome,
yeah.
Thank you.
I hope you can see my slide.
Yes.
Oh, no. You see it?
Yeah, not a presentation, but just the sort of the editing window.
Oh, okay, so that has a bit system error, but I hope you can see it in this way fine enough. Yeah, so thanks for listening. My name is Simon Beer. I just started as a co-chair in the Strong Lensing Science collaboration, and I present on behalf of the collaboration with my co-chair, Graham Smith. I have 2 slides. So recent highlights, or what we are excited about. We have our first real LSSD Strong Lensing meeting coming up in less than 2 weeks in Oxford, about 50+ participants. That's one aspect. We have, since about a year, really developed and pushed the Strong Lensing simulation pipeline. After Link, that's in collaboration between DESC and SLSC. And we are actively using many products from DP 0.2, also transitioning to DP 0.3, validating our simulations, postage stamps, a lot of these aspects. And we are currently in the planning of data challenges for searching and analyzing lenses, both in the static regime on coads and in the transients as time series of lens quasars and lens supernova, getting this data product ever more realistic and ever more in scale of what we are going to deal with when LSSD turns on. We have in-kind contributions to the SITCOM, DIA science units, and adaptive optics group. And I hope this really ramps up also our involvement and the service of the commissioning. Early science preparation right now, aside from the data challenges on simulation, is we're drafting HSD, any HSD proposal, just as an example what comes up, because it's right in that last bit of that cycle, could be the first data coming in, and we don't want to miss out on that opportunity For example, on the lens supernova sides, we expect about 50 per year in LSST data. Well, ZDF, it's less than 1 a year. So even a month of data could, through coincidence or our dedicated searches, we can actually double the number, or at least have opportunity to get follow-up data. We're also participating, or a subset, in the Rubin TO workshop next month in Berkeley. And there's also a Royal Astronomy meeting on strong lensing with multi-messenger, which is also an exciting aspect of strong lensing moving forward. May not be so likely, but we can give it a chance to find something. So next slide. So where could we get some project inputs? And so I'm already mentioned, like strongly lensed supernova. So we want to follow. We cannot follow up all of them, but we want to not miss a time window, even if it's a week of data and we don't have the opportunity of triggering something if necessary. So, so the question here is, how soon and at what volume will some kind of alert stream kick in? It doesn't have to be, we cannot expect it to be great, but at what time we can at least start hoping that something can pick up that is exciting to us. And yeah, how after the service starts, will single visits pixel level cutouts be accessible? So our current working assumption is the 80-hour period, and as soon as the embargo is lifted, if there is something different, we should know. That would be very helpful for us to craft the proposal, our strategy. I know it's going to be, chaotic in one sense or so on, but at least we want to give it a shot as soon as possible. And I see a hand up from Leanne.
Hi, why don't you finish, Simon? I can answer some of these questions for you.
Yeah, wonderful. Yes.
First.
Yeah, and other like minor struggles, I'm sure we find it in the documentation, is when we work with DP0.2 data, and we need description how a Poisson noise or things we add on top of existing data. And so there's not really a good accessible way currently, as our community was used to. If we say have HSD data, we have weight maps, we have certain things where we can, the data products in that sense were not, there's like, wait a second, how can I add just the source Poisson noise? Just tell me the effective exposure time. It's a bit dubiously accessible. So, and there's some struggles. We try to reverse engineer, or at least having single exposures, then run it through your coad processing and see whether the noise property maps with our direct coad simulation. So there's certain validation in that sense going on. And that kind of like summarizes it for me, a few questions. Yeah. And yeah, thank you very much for all the great tools that are out there. Yeah, stop here.
Wonderful, Simon. Thank you very much. That's terrific. We have a few minutes for Q&A. I believe Leanne has volunteered to answer some of the questions. So, Leanne, your hand is up. Would you like to make any comments?
Yes. How soon and at what volume will the alert stream kick in? As soon as we can. Honestly, Simon, the alert stream kicking in is dependent, as I'm sure you know, on templates. We don't yet know exactly what commissioning is going to look like and how many templates we're going to get out of commissioning, what quality those images will be, what part of the sky they will cover, what filter they will be in. But whatever we get, whatever science grade, we'll build templates and we will start to use those as we enter year one. And also we will ramp up the incremental template generation program. So we collect 3 images at a pointing, we make a template. The next time we go there, we do a different image. Now, there's a lot of open questions around, do we take the first 3 images? Do we apply quality cuts? What filters do we use? What sort of time baseline do we want for the template? And how does that affect the difference image that we get? There's all sorts of open questions. I hope we will be having some sort of open discussion about this at the PCW this year. I hope we've actually got more to tell you. So, the best answer I can give you at the moment is as soon as we've got templates that will allow us to start to do alert production, we want to get this started as soon as we can.
Yeah, that's great. And I don't expect anything be tailored ready, of course, right? So the challenges will be there, but just like from the team, there's an effort to putting it out as early as possible. Hence, we're going to propose to be lucky as early as possible.
Yeah, that's right. Now, during commissioning, we are going to work with the brokers to integrate them. So just one point to clarify is that brokers are not an on-project deliverable. They're a community third-party deliverable. So we don't commission the brokers, we integrate the brokers. The brokers will commission themselves. We will integrate the brokers with our system and make sure that they can receive the alert stream. But if a broker goes down, that's the broker's problem. You have to work with the broker on it. Having said that, we've got quite a few brokers that are working very successfully on ZTF and other surveys, so that's not my biggest concern by a long shot.
Yeah.
And we will be starting up during commissioning some form of alert distribution sometime in the next few months based on simulated alerts. Then as we get into commissioning, we are planning to have what we call canned alerts or delayed alerts, not in real time, not meeting that 60-second latency, but starting to transmit those out during commissioning. And so that will be a training ground as well if you want to start working with the alerts, how you work with the broker, how you get those alerts, how you get extra information out of the science platform, how you then query the cutout services to get bigger postage stamps. So there'll be some sort of training ground for you with brokers during the commissioning period. I can't tell you exactly what it's going to look like yet because we don't know exactly what commissioning will look like yet. In terms of specific areas of the sky. And your third point there, how soon after the survey start will single visit pixel cutouts be accessible? You are correct, once they're out of embargo. So an image is taken, we do image processing, basic image processing, we do detection in that image. Anything detected above the 5 sigma threshold becomes an alert and is distributed immediately. There is a postage stamp in that alert packet of a given size, a small size, that is available immediately within the 120 seconds. Note that the 60-second design goal is 120 seconds in year 1. It will only achieve our design goal once we get into year 2. But from that alert, you will have a position, you will have a cutout. Now, I know a lot of people then want to go and query the image services and get a bigger cutout or get cutouts around that alert, or even just for their known locations. If you know we've observed a particular pointing already, you want to get a cutout, maybe there weren't any alerts, that you have to wait 80 hours. That is when the images come out of embargo.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, that answers my questions. Yeah, thank you very much.
Great, Federica.
If it's okay, I wanted to add, Simon, if you weren't there, we had the discussion of the templates also in the SCLC workshop, and the videos of the workshops are available. And Eric Belm has discussed this to some extent, including what we expect for different strategies on collecting on really not so much on collecting, but more on like constructing the templates.
I've linked to the notes fed from that meeting as well.
Here's more for confirmation that we're basically, our strategy, within the month of writing the proposal, etc., that this is on. Yeah. Thank you.
Okay, other questions? There's also an opportunity for inter-science collaboration communication. So, all right, then the next presentation is from ISSC. Is it Ashley? Will you present? Okay. Would you like, you're muted. Would you like, there you go. Very good. Thank you.
Do you see my slides?
Yes.
Perfect. Yes. So the ISSC has been focused, so it is unique amongst the science collaborations in that we do not have a particular science focus, but we're broadly interested in interesting statistical and data science problems enabled with Rubin data. And we bring together scientists and data scientists and software engineers, so notably on the astronomy community. We have most recently been really focusing on key structural changes within the collaboration. We have grown by 50% in 2023. And with that, we have finally solidified our charter. We have formed our essential committees as designated by LSST project, active publications and membership committees. We've also formed, similar to DESK, an executive council to help formulate our future directions. What I really would like to highlight is that we have an upcoming collaboration meeting in mid-April. Many of you have an invite in your mailbox from me. Please respond to that. Where we're really excited to have a combination of scientific talks and hacking tutorial style hard work at trying to at least solidify some clear statistical problems that we can already start to tackle. The website's linked if you would like to go check it out. Okay, and then I'll say, I did not link to this, but we've also been undergoing, there's been ongoing work in our newly formed interest group, specifically on anomaly detection. As part of this, I didn't link, there will be a sister conference, April 17th to 19th, which it will be a working hackathon to actually build up a simulation designed to find anomalies within the Rubin alert stream. And we're really hoping to bring together there theorists with fun ideas, people who are interested in data-driven anomaly detection, and of course, people interested in Rubin data streams. I'll just note that a particular challenge that we've had that has continuously been true in the history of ISSC is, of course, given our heterogeneity and our incredible diversity, we do not lack a clear scientific direction, and we very much want to actively formalize engagements with other scientific collaborations and exchange knowledge in a way that's productive for everyone. So then I will say that many of these points first comes from our anomaly detection interest groups. So my goal is to try to push some of these answers to them so that they understand where these can be found. ISSC is getting incredibly interested, though. In our data-driven solutions, we require large training sets, and we require those up front. In order to minimize the computational ask on the project, we're very curious about plans in the future for these kind of bulk download requests. And I mean that also literally, how do we bulk download DP0? But even more so in the future, will there be a formalized way in which we aren't just overwhelming the project on an individual basis, but we can actually train large models in local compute somehow with a image of the data? Should I keep going, or are we just, I'll just keep going and say all of the questions. As I said, we're increasingly interested in particular in this question of anomalies, the kind of 1 in 1 million level of events. As part of this, there is a question specifically on the real bogus classifier and when a plan will be formalized, if it has not been already, and what is the exact classifier or algorithm in place. And we're wondering how this will impact our ability to find anomalies. A little stranger, so in commissioning, we heard a note that there is commissioning on audio data too, and there's been like interesting camera, well, what do I want to say? There's been audio recordings of the camera tests, and that there might be interest in trying to understand those to what do I want to say? Aid in calibration of that camera, or in general, if there are calibration tasks. Our members are actively interested in solving some of these problems right away with data that exists. So that's all from me.
Lots of questions, I'm sure. I have some, but let me open the floor first. Maybe Leanne, do you want to answer about bulk downloads?
Sure, just a second. I was just finding my unmute buttons and all the rest. Sorry about that. Okay, so some great questions there. Again, Ashley, you're really drilling data management this time, all of you.
I know, right? Yeah.
So how will data be available in large quantities for training of data-driven pipelines? Is it available as a bulk download? No, it is not available as a bulk download. Bulk download doesn't match with our model, bringing the analysis to the data. Yeah. You might think that DP0 with 300 square degrees is feasibly downloadable. It's still pretty big, and still a lot to bulk download. And if everyone started doing that, that would crash everything, and it's just really not scalable. Oh. We do have, okay, so how then do you want to train, how do you want to train data-driven pipelines? This is a really good question. So we have the data from DP0 at the moment is loaded in QServe. Yeah. It's our distributed relational database. As I'm sure you know, relational databases are not the right model for doing this sort of training. We also provide all of this data in Parquet files, which is a much better data format for doing bulk training of large amounts of data. Those Parquet files for DP0 are available on the Science platform. You can access them through the Butler.
Okay.
We do. So that's something that you could look at, trying to work with those Parquet files. Although I don't know anyone who's done it yet.
Yeah.
And I don't have a working example myself, but I know we do have the Parquet files there. However, even if it's in a very early sort of nascent state in DP0, we do plan to provide all the data products in both Parquet files and in a relational database. That's QServe.
Thank you. Okay.
POM products database also is almost certainly a relational database, just for reference. Now we will also be providing some sort of service along the lines of Dask or Spark, which you're probably familiar with, for doing this sort of large catalog bulk data analysis in Parquet. So that would be the model that you would use going forwards. I think that's how you would access the data. Training of classifiers, typically people want to use GPUs. You haven't said anything about GPUs here, but I'm reading between the lines because you're probably going to ask me. The Ribbon Science platform does not support GPUs. We do not provide them at this stage. We do not support them. We certainly will not be able to support them before the beginning of operations, and it is very unlikely that we will in the first couple of years. Simply put, we just don't have the resources to get this system built and to upscope to GPUs. Now, having said that, I recognize the need for this. Everyone recognizes the need for this. What we're hoping as part of our model is that the independent data access centers who are working with Ruben as part of the in-kind contributions will be able to provide GPUs and support those parts of our community who need to use GPUs to train classifiers. So the idea might be that you would train your classifiers on GPUs at an IDAC and then take a training classifier, install it, run it on the Science platform, and then be able to iterate over the entire large catalogs. So that's one possible model. That's about the best we've got in terms of GPU at the moment.
Okay.
Yeah.
That is helpful. Thank you.
Yeah. What are the current plans for applying real bogus classifier cuts during alert production? We are developing and training a real bogus classifier that will be applied during alert production. If not, we'll just be sending out a fire hose of garbage. So this is really quite important. But just be aware that probably in year one, this is going to be, we're going to be training, we'll be ramping it up, we're going to be learning characteristics of the data. There is no way that it will be the best it can be in year one.
Yeah. Okay.
So there's, and this is maybe a discussion that we need to have with the community. Where do we put that cut between real and bogus? Do we err on the side of not sending out a lot of garbage and potentially miss things, or do we send out a lot of garbage, aim for completeness, and have the brokers apply more complex algorithms and the community apply more complex algorithms at the broker level to try to remove a lot of the contamination.
Right. And well, I assume these will, oh, I'm so sorry. I was just going to just quickly clarify that these will be, even though as they're in training, will they be in open source so that people can start forward modeling?
You mean the code for our real bogus classifier? Oh, yes, absolutely. All LSST software is open source and it's in GitHub. I can't remember offhand what the package is for the real bogus classifier, but it will be, the code is available. There's data management does not do closed science.
Looks like Robert wants to add something, or
just that I'm slightly less pessimistic about false bogus early on. Our subtractions look pretty clean, better than people are used to. So we'll still need a false bogus, but it may not be quite as bad as, it won't be 100 to 1 early on, put it that way, I think.
I didn't mean to, it was more a caveat emptor. It was more just expectation and not have people expecting an absolutely perfect classifier. I'm not trying to be pessimistic here.
Right. It's probably worth having an update on alert processing at some point in, later this year as well. Federica has a hand up.
Yeah, just to stress what I think was Ashley's concern about the real bogus, like the concern specifically that the ISSC, if I heard it correctly, has right now is how that might rule out anomalies.
Yes, that's right.
At the real bogus stage.
That's right.
Which is probably a separate question than the current focus of the real bogus performance.
Yeah, thank you so much, Fed. That's definitely the point. And if we have the model available to us, we can exactly test those types of questions.
Yeah, okay. Yeah, you will have the model available.
Hey, I had a couple of questions. You had asked about audio recordings of camera tests. So there is a microphone there just for looking for any hardware anomalies. Is that what you?
That is. So this is not quite me, but multiple people have heard about this. The anomaly detection group heard about this and is interested in helping with this problem. So if people are interested in sharing.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Very good. I saw a hand go up and then come down.
Yeah, I've been in a couple of conversations where audio recording to support engineering troubleshooting has been discussed. I don't think there is
right. That's what this is for.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this is for. So are there any issues with mechanisms? Yeah. Is there a fan suddenly making noise? The sort of thing. And that's really there just for debugging hardware if we see anomalies. But that's really interesting that there are people in your group interested in that.
Yeah.
So we'll convey that. Thank you very much.
Actively. Like I have to emphasize, they want to know if they can help.
Okay, very good. Just want to make sure I understood it. Leanne has a hand up again.
Yeah, Auntie Connolly has asked a question in the chat about.
Yes, I was about to get to that, but go ahead.
Oh, do you want to wait?
No, please go ahead.
Okay. Yeah, it's a good question, Andy. We don't at the moment have any sort of bulk API that would bulk extract images. At the moment, these are single queries over our SOTA service to get an image cut out. That's something we need to consider. I'm not. Yeah, our SOTA service is in a very, very early version of this. So I will follow up on that.
Andy?
Yeah, I think that might just that might help alleviate some of the concerns about not having GPUs on the RSP. If you can train off-site and then apply maybe with CPUs, do the actual inference part on the RSP.
That's right. I think to reemphasize maybe this first point, ISSC is happy to help serve as that liaison to organize few bulk requests, but that can be made on behalf of the community for training some of these pipelines.
Okay, great. Thank you. This is all really useful, actually, and we'll follow up on the things that were suggested here. Other questions, comments, suggestions? Of course, ISSC is also crossroads for all the other science groups, science collaborations. So this is really good to have these interactions. Okay, and can you remind us, Ashley, does ISSC have liaisons to each of the science collaborations, and how's that going?
So we historically have. In practice, this needs to be updated. Okay. I'll just say again, for our upcoming collaboration meeting, we have sent requests to members of each science collaboration to come and serve as a liaison for at least this meeting to help us get an understanding of your science.
Okay, and how many responses have you gotten? Don't name names, but just how many?
I'll say many of you need to respond to me.
Maybe I'll turn the recording off now. Okay, anything else? Yes. All right, well, thank you very much. It's been quite useful.